On my wedding day, my mom texted, "Don't expect anyone to show." Then I saw the group photo, all of them on a private beach in Maui. The caption read, "Finally together." I just sent one text, perfect timing. That night, I pulled my name off the business charter and froze every corporate expense account. A week later, my dad was outside my condo, red-faced and pounding on the door. I opened it, sipped my coffee, and said, "At this point, I don't even know what to call them." Family. That word doesn't fit anymore. You don't skip someone's wedding and still get to wear that title. You don't fly to a private beach, toast champagne in the sun, and pose for a group photo on the same day your only son says his vows, and still call that love. I don't know what they are to me now, but they're not family. That ended the moment I saw the photo. Let me rewind. The morning of my wedding, I was standing in the small dressing room at our venue, this rustic little lodge on the coast, nothing fancy, but peaceful. I was adjusting my cufflinks when I got a text from my mother, "Don't expect anyone to show. Best of luck." No punctuation, no context, just those words. I stared at the screen for a solid minute, thinking it had to be a mistake. I actually checked the sender, like I didn't recognize her number. I even turned off my phone and turned it back on, like maybe I'd read it wrong. But no, that was it. That was my send-off from the people who raised me. Natalie was down the hall getting ready. She had no idea. She thought they'd be arriving late. I never told her the full truth about how they reacted to her. When we got engaged, my mom called her scrappy, and my dad said she wasn't a strategic match. I didn't even know people talked like that outside of arranged marriages or corporate boardrooms. They didn't like that her family wasn't wealthy, that her dad drove a truck, and her mom worked retail, that she came from a small town. They smiled in public and called her names behind closed doors, but I thought maybe, deep down, they'd come around. They didn't. I kept checking the entrance as the ceremony started. The seats reserved for my side of the family stayed empty. Every single one. Not even a text from my sister, the same sister who once told me I saved her life during her divorce. She couldn't be bothered to send an excuse. But Natalie, God, she looked beautiful. She smiled like she had the whole world figured out. I focused on her. I didn't let them ruin it, at least not visibly. We got through the vows. We kissed. Everyone cheered. The reception was small but joyful. Her family danced for hours. Our college friends toasted us with cheap champagne and corny stories. Nobody asked about my side of the aisle. Maybe they figured something came up. Later that night, I stepped outside to grab a beer from the cooler and get a little air. That's when I saw it, the post. My cousin, who apparently never figured out how privacy settings work, uploaded a picture that hit harder than anything my family had ever said to my face. There they all were, standing on a private beach in Maui. Waves behind them, sunglasses, sundresses, open collars. My parents, my sister and her husband, 2 aunts, even my dad's business partner, who's not even blood, glasses raised, arms around each other, tan and glowing. It looked like a damn catalog photo. The caption read, "Finally together, love wins. #family forever." They didn't just skip my wedding, they orchestrated a parallel celebration, a family event without me. They waited until my exact wedding day to do it, then posted it like they wanted me to see it, like it was some kind of message. I walked back inside, kissed Natalie on the cheek, and danced until midnight. Then I went quiet. The following Monday, I showed up to the office like nothing happened. The receptionist said good morning. I smiled, walked straight into my office. My name was still on the charter. I still had all the admin keys. I still controlled the corporate cards, the joint expenses, the assets I helped build from the ground up with my dad. By noon, I filed the paperwork to remove myself from the business entity. By 4, I froze every corporate expense account tied to the family. Phones, gas, flights, hotels, all of it. I made sure it would hit them midweek, right as they were wrapping up their trip. The group chat started lighting up like a fire alarm by early evening. My dad texted first, then my sister, then the call started. I ignored everyone. I was sitting on the couch with my wife, eating leftover cake. Finally, I sent one message back, perfect timing. Then I turned my phone off and opened a bottle of wine. There was nothing left to say. A week of silence. That's all it took for them to crack. After the photo, after the text, after the wedding, after I froze the expense accounts and erased myself from the business we spent 10 years building together, I didn't pick up a single call. Not one reply to the frantic messages piling up in my inbox. Not even when my sister texted asking if I'd gone insane. I just watched quietly from the outside as the cracks started to show. Natalie noticed something had shifted, but she didn't ask. She knew enough to know that if I hadn't said anything yet, it wasn't ready to be spoken. We were still settling into married life, small routines, coffee in the morning, cooking together at night. She picked up a freelance gig and filled the space in the apartment with energy I didn't realize I'd been missing all these years. We were happy. Tired, but happy. Then came the knock. It was around 6:50 in the morning, still hazy outside, and I was in the kitchen in a t-shirt and boxers, drinking my first cup of coffee when the pounding started. Sharp, loud, like someone wanted the door off its hinges. I didn't have to guess, I already knew who it was. When I opened the door, there he stood, my father, red-faced, dressed in his usual overpressed shirt and designer slacks, like he thought showing up in business attire would give him some kind of authority. His tan hadn't faded yet. The Maui sun still clung to his skin like an insult. He didn't ask to come in. Didn't ask how I was. Didn't even say hello. He just launched into it. Yelled about how I'd embarrassed him. How I'd crippled the family. How freezing the accounts mid-trip left them stranded and how they had to cover costs with personal credit cards. He said my sister and her husband had just put a down payment on a second property, assuming the cash flow would keep coming, that I had no right, that I'd thrown a grenade into everything. I stood there sipping coffee. When he paused long enough to breathe, I said, calm and clear, I gave you every chance. You made your choice. That was the moment something shifted in him. His rage turned bitter. He started accusing me of being emotional, said I was making a scene out of nothing. That skipping one event wasn't worth tearing the family apart. He kept calling it a difference of opinion, like what they did wasn't calculated, like it didn't come with consequences. He said I owed him, that he built the company from nothing, that he gave me the tools to succeed, that I was nothing without him. That's when I knew we'd never speak the same language. I told him the charter changes were final, that the holding company now controlled my shares and would not be reversing any decisions without compensation. If they wanted the business whole, they could buy it back at market rate, cash up front. I told him the cards weren't coming back. The sale plans, the company car leases, the travel accounts, all frozen indefinitely. He asked what I expected them to do. I said, figure it out. Then I closed the door. He stood there pounding again, yelling my name, shouting threats I'd heard versions of before. I didn't open it. I sat back down, finished my coffee, and scrolled through photos from the wedding. Not a single one featured my family, but every one of them showed joy.